Hello and welcome back to Podcast with a K. I'm your host Karla with a K, and you're listening to 90.1 WECS FM. And we are back in the studio on another fine Sunday evening. I know last week I promised new nonsense, a new guest. However, with the array of technical difficulties we've been having, I've opted to suspend guests for at least one show. I had asked a few people, but ultimately I think this is best because it's not fair to the guests. It's not fair to y'all to have to listen to me ramble while I try to fix everything live on air. We've been doing some work behind the scenes. Supposedly everything is set, ready to go, so it's going to be a good show. You're going to get to hear me talk for an hour about whatever nonsense. So the nonsense is still there. And anytime there's a solo episode, consider yourselves, the listeners, and anyone who's watching live on Twitch in the chat as the guests. And of course, if you know me in person, you can always send me a message during the show if you have something that you'd like to be considered on air. But anyway, welcome back to another episode of this. This is week 5. Hard to believe. 5 weeks doesn't seem like a lot, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But given the current situation, which I hate that phrase, any buzzword that refers to the fact that we're living through a pandemic is super annoying to me. But regardless, week 5, we've made it halfway through. There's 5 more weeks of this here, and then perhaps we'll go back to Quarantine with a K on YouTube. I'm not sure yet, but that is something that I will figure out later. Again, I'm still trying to make sure that everything is working. I'm trying to balance my usual settings versus what I've been using for to compensate for the fact that everything's been broken. But like I said, work in progress. Hopefully everything will be good, and if not, let me know, and I'll try to fix it live on air, as always. But enough about that, because that's not the point of this show. The point of the show is whatever my stream of consciousness is, and today I want to talk about a series of things, which will be seamlessly segued into together. But first up on our agenda is Bieber on SNL, because yes, and I said so. So, if you know me, you know I watch 2 shows every week live on TV, and that is Supernatural, because it's about to end, and I've been with it for far too long to just wait till the end to binge watch it, and Saturday Night Live, which is on Saturdays. The name of the Podcast with a K / Quarantine with a K playlist on my YouTube channel is called Sunday Night Live. Obviously because of reasons, but Bieber was on SNL. He'd been on in February, and he performed. He was a musical guest, and so he was on last night again as a musical guest after having released 2 songs. And first he released a track, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess also worth mentioning, if you didn't already know or figure it out, I am completely still 100% a believer, which I can't believe I just said that word in 2020, but that's where we are. Anyway, he released a song, and I was like, okay, cool, very interesting. And then he released another song, and I was like, wow, 2 new songs? He hasn't been writing music. What is this gift to humanity? And then he announced he was going to be on Saturday Night Live, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes so much more sense then, because musical guests do 2 songs during the show, right? And so both songs are really, really mellow and chill, and not at all his usual sound. One of them was Holy with Chance the Rapper, who he brought out on stage with him, and the other one is with Blanco, and it's called Lonely. And the first song, Holy, has very much a Christian feel to it. The other one, Lonely by Blanco, he actually tweeted about it, saying that the first time he listened to the song, it was hard to listen through because it essentially hit too close to home, because the song is about, reaching a point of stardom, which is hard to cope with because it's unrelatable and because it's not something that, anyone else understands or that you can talk to about, right? And so this is something that it's not exclusive to Bieber, okay? And I love that the podcast has turned into like music talk and then nonsense, but these are my interests. So it's something that plagues a lot of child stars, I think, and everyone deals with it like differently, right? I think the other most notable comparison that people like to draw was Miley Cyrus. And then from her, essentially any Disney kid who, after being on Disney, decides to kind of go crazy for a little bit, right? But Bieber himself has talked about how, like, he was essentially given the world way too early and way too young. And I remember one of the saddest things to read from an interview was that he started off, like, authentic, genuine, like, this was what he wanted to do. And then as time went on, he became more manufactured, I think was his phrasing. And as time was going on, right, he got cocky, he got overconfident, and it got to the point where in 2013, kid was 19, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how to do math. But I think he was 19. He was young. He was still like a child. He said that he was going to retire from music after putting out that album that I think 2012 Bieber was Boyfriend, right? I think so. Anyway, he said he was retiring from music, and I was like devastated because I stan. And he only came onto the scene in 2010, so this is 3 years into his career and he's already over it. I was just like, no, please don't. And then he didn't, right? He put out another album in 2015, and then that was that. We didn't get any new music until Changes came out Valentine's Day this year. So he was already jaded from it after such a short time in the spotlight, right? And in the grand scheme of things, he's been famous for about 10 years, right? This is about half of his life. And I know I talk about a lot on the show, but it's also one of my favorite, like, little, I guess, conversations to have is about whether or not you can separate the artist from the art. But in his case, I wonder if it's possible to separate celebrity from the person, you know? Because he obviously did a lot of things that were not very smart, that he's not very proud of, and that he's spoken about how, like, he regrets a lot of his actions and decisions and stuff like that. And he also mentioned that in recent years that he's also been taking a break from music so that he can focus more on his marriage and address, like, personal issues and personal problems. And it makes sense because, you know, celebrities are people too. But it's interesting that it's gotten to this point because before his life, his personal life was very much in the spotlight. He wrote a song even about how, like, he was incompatible with someone that didn't know how to live in the spotlight. And I think this one was about Selena, but the inner believer is coming out strong tonight. But he like very much made this his personality, and it was interesting to see as he was a touring artist how he kind of started falling off of it. I unfortunately, sadly, regrettably never got to see him perform live, but one of my favorite things about him is that his vocals live seem to be pretty much identical to his vocals in the studio, and that's something that I love. There's some artists, I remember Katy Perry had like a New Year set or something, and everyone was like, wait, that's not what she sounds like in her songs. And so, like, after that, I started paying attention. And so Bieber's one of those artists that's pretty consistent with his sound. I didn't get to see him. That's besides the point. He started off really hype with super elaborate sets, super exciting, high-energy performance with backup dancers, etc. And then his last tour, I think, 2015, I think the tour ran for a year, and then he extended it to a world tour. So I think it ran until 2017. But he ended up canceling that canceling or stopping that tour early, I'm pretty sure. But I remember seeing that people were kind of disappointed because there wasn't so much performance. It was more so him just kind of walking around or just like sitting on the stage singing or like talking to the audience while he was like known for being a very like performative performer, if I can say it like that. Like, again, super elaborate. There was the time when he had like the big wings made of music notes and guitars, and he would like be lowered onto the stage. And so like it was very clear that he was growing tired of the lifestyle, right? And so like you have this in comparison with him acting out when he's in public and just kind of like, you know, generally not being happy in his situation. And yet he still got so much hate, which obviously was a catalyst for him kind of going down this spiral. Because imagine being a child, an actual child, being a teenager, and the entire world hates you for a song that was written for you because it was supposed to be a radio hit, right? Like I said, he came into this thinking he was like a songwriter, like he did covers, he like very much did his own thing. He was already YouTube famous. And now for someone to write you a song and be like, sing this one, this is the one that's gonna hit, and for it to become the most disliked video on YouTube. Not only that, but also have people constantly going after you on other platforms of social media to also tell you that your work is trash, that you're the worst, that you shouldn't be doing music. Like, that's this kid's entire livelihood. Like, obviously the support is going to be there even if the hate is there, but it's taxing, right? Like, all it takes is one bad comment to ruin your day. Like, I'll go back through my YouTube channel of like my school projects that I uploaded to be able to present in class. And I saw recently that one that I did for like, I think it was like Day of the Dead or something, has a dislike. And this video, I'm telling you, was like, I want to say almost 10 years ago. And I saw that dislike and I was sitting there like, wait, who disliked my video? I thought it was kind of cute and kind of funny. And of course, like, educational, informative, whatever. But like, this isn't what I'm doing with my life. I'm not sitting here trying to make educational videos. Yeah, I saw that dislike and now I'm sitting here thinking about it, even today after I saw this like a week or two ago. So like, if that's how it comes into play with me, who's not invested in that video, imagine making a career out of like one of your skills, one of your talents, and that's what people come after you for. Like, obviously this kid was going to spiral, but in his case, I am going to always be a strong supporter of separating the artist from the art and celebrity from the person, because whenever you hear him talk, especially now, like, he's been through a lot, and like, he doesn't really try to justify what he did. Like, he did a lot of dumb things, like I said, but he just kind of is more of the type to be like, yeah, it happened, so what? Which I guess also some people that like rubs them the wrong way because it seems like dismissive, but I don't know. He was a kid. I'm not saying kids shouldn't be held accountable for stuff, but it's understandable, I think, is my point. I'm seeing here in chat, it was a trend to hate on things back in the day, and that is very true. Like, that was very much a culture. There was a lot of like directing people, which I think is also what led Baby to be the most hated video. And let me just go ahead and say, Baby's kind of a hit. Like, it's not a bad track. It's very like manufactured and like intended radio hit, but like, it's catchy and it's good. And his acoustic version of it is so freaking good. That's honestly like probably why I actually like the song, was more for the acoustic version than for like the one with Ludacris. But everyone kind of directed all of the hate towards him, right? And like back then, obviously, like and recently, like he's made fun of himself for it. Like, not, and recently, I mean, like maybe like 5 years ago when he was still doing like talk shows and interviews and stuff like that. But I digress. I stan. I digress. The purpose of this was to tie it into, what's it called? Into Lonely, the song he did with Benny Blanco, because he also, what's it called? He released a music video, right? And this kid, I don't remember the kid's name. He's like also like a famous child actor. He plays Bieber in it, and he's wearing like the original like My World Tour outfit, which is like purple and white leather. But what's it called? He like shouted out the kid for portraying him super well, and then I started like going down the train of thought, like, what if this kid gets hate for playing Bieber in a song where Bieber's talking about getting hate for, you know, just kind of existing and doing his job. And even though like now the song is recognized as like actually being kind of hype, and like he's got obviously all of the supporters that he has, and there's more of a culture, I guess, of uplifting artists and kind of trying to give everyone a second chance. I I guess unless they're being canceled, but that's a different conversation. I think I just really hope that the kid doesn't also have to go down that same path, because now it's like you have to be hyper aware of that too, right? Like, who do you rope into the story or into your narrative, and how do you keep your reputation from affecting theirs, right? Because, like, again, this kid's just acting in a Bieber video, but now anyone that, like, only watches Bieber and doesn't keep up with this other kid, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's the kid from the Bieber video, right? And for every good one, there could be a hater. But I don't know. I feel like the trends have shifted. Behavior's not the same. It's not whack. What's whack is that people ever hated on Bieber in the first place. But I don't know. The music video was like super weirdly nostalgic, and I'm sitting here like, why am I crying over Bieber in 2020? What is this? Because, like, I'm telling you, one of the saddest days of my life was when I was scrolling one day and I kept getting notifications, and I was like, I should turn off notifications for Bieber. And, like, I sat there with my, like, finger on the button to unfollow, or not to unfollow, God, never, to turn off notifications. And I was like, wow, who have I become? My original Twitter account was a Bieber fan account. But anyway, that's besides the point. I've gone on such a tangent just to say that your first song of the night and our first music break is gonna be Lonely by Bieber, Benny Blanco. And y'all are gonna listen to the SNL version because, again, like I said, I love his voice in real life, and I'm very much still obsessed, even though he's married, whatever. Anyway, without further ado, here is Lonely by Bieber and Benny Blanco. So that was Lonely by Bieber and Benny Blanco, and I have my entire heart just shattered into pieces. But kind of on the note of going into music as an authentic artist and ending up manufactured, it also happened to One Direction, which I know is like quite the connection to make here, but it is a thing, right? Like, it is indeed something that happens to artists. And basically what happened with One Direction was, if you don't for some reason know, they all auditioned individually, and then Simon Cowell was like, nah, y'all should be a boy band. And so then they were like, I mean, I guess. And then Zayn left because he was mad about it. But during that time, they had their little documentary thing, and it came out something that management really kind of wrote all their songs instead of them, or like they would have them write for the songs, but they didn't really get to be the ones that came up with the concept. And there's a lot of songs that you listen to and you can tell where, not, and I'm not even going to say the inspiration, you can tell what they sampled, like, without directly sampling it. I think it's You and I by One Direction sounds identical to some Bryan Adams song, right? And it's not just like old tracks that they were copying. There's also a song that they have that sounds, I think it's like Change Your Ticket. It sounds identical to the 1975. And I'm like, you can take inspiration from other artists, right? And you can obviously sample, like, that's a thing that's been a thing for like ever. However, with One Direction, it's just so blatantly obvious, and it's not something that they ever disclosed doing deliberately. Like, they very much try to be like, oh yeah, we're original. We like just like to listen to all music. And so, like, I can't even listen to those tracks because I'm like, it just sounds inauthentic. I simply do not vibe with these songs. And so, like, to this day, like, if for some reason One Direction comes up on my shuffle, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm vibing. But if one of those songs from the past, like, comes up, like I said, specifically the Bryan Adams one and the 1975 one, there's tracks by Bryan Adams that I like. There's tracks by the 1975 that I like, but I can't listen to the One Direction ones because all I hear is the person that they were trying to imitate. And I'm like, I at this point, would rather just listen to the song that this song is based on than this song, because it's not a cover. It's not deliberately, like, supposed to be inspired by it, but it's like you can hear the song within it, and it's not even like well done. But I digress. That's not even what I wanted to talk about in this segment. What I did want to talk about, also on the topic of separating the artist from the art, is the moral dilemma that even is. And from there, we're going to hop into moral dilemmas because, yes. So separating the artist from the art is going to be our first one because, as I've said on the show before, I think you can. I know some people say you can't, especially when it comes to, like, I guess, people saying things that are really, like, off base or out of pocket, or maybe supporting something that you don't agree with and it's, like, significant to your personal livelihood. But I feel like if you're not, like, what's the word, financially supporting the artist, you can separate the artist from the art, right? We've discussed this mostly on the topic of Kanye. So, like, if I'm listening to Kanye, I'm not going to do it, like, in a way that gives him money. You know what I'm saying? If he comes on Spotify and I'm, like, not near my Alexa or my phone to, like, skip it, like, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh my God, shut everything down. But if I particularly want to hear a song by Kanye, because, like, he can be whoever he is as a person, but, like, the man's got bops. Like, I'm sorry. He's good at music. I'll look up, like, a lyric video on YouTube or something. Just kind of, like, as a in your face. Like, it's not like I'm always going out of my way to do it, but if I catch myself in that, like, train of thought and I, like, end up doing the YouTube thing, I'm like, okay, I feel a little bit better about myself. Again, not that it's super important or super, like, extra, because, again, like I said, I'm more of the type of person where it's like, you can separate the artist from the art, like, their creation, because there's more people in the creation of their art than just them, right? Like, it's a whole production team for everything, anything, a movie, a show, a book, whatever. This also comes up a lot with J.K. Rowling nowadays and Harry Potter. And it's like, I like Harry Potter. I like the story. I like the movies. A lot of people worked on those movies. So it's like, I'm not going to not watch Harry Potter just because J.K. Rowling tweeted something, you know? Why? Right? It's not just her that it's impacting anyway. But particularly with Bieber, I hope that I can continue to say that I will defend that kid forever and not have someone listen back to this podcast and be like, wow, Karla's canceled. She stands Bieber way too hard. Which half of y'all are probably already thinking anyway. But anyway, that's moral dilemma number 1. And I have a list here on my phone, which y'all can't, well, I guess Twitch can see, radio y'all can't see, but of different things that I found, because there's if you haven't been on the internet forever, and if you have, like, a normal life in which you go outside and don't live on the internet like I do, you will not be aware, or you might be aware. I don't know what I'm saying. Essentially, there's a website called Would You Press the Button that got kind of popular back in the day, because at first it was like, whoa, would you press the button? And then also it got super popular again because it kind of got overtaken, and then the scenarios were really, really dumb. And that's where I ended up taking a lot of these from, or inspiration for a lot of these from, because I looked up, like, websites that had moral dilemmas or ethical dilemmas, and they were all, like, super, 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 like, heavy and, like, not at all the type of thing that I want to discuss by myself in the studio. Those are conversations that I wish I could have had, like, specific guests for, because I've had people on the show before that love to discuss this type of thing, and it's always super interesting because they'll come at it from a completely different point of view that I haven't even considered before. But if it's just me rambling by myself, I don't want to, like, I don't know, misinterpret it and not have the feedback to, like, be able to properly discuss. But let's go into some different scenarios, right? We've done the separating the artist from the art thing, and from there, I think a good place to go would be kind of on a similar wave, because Bieber said that with the stardom, he kind of, like, lost sense of who he was, right? So our next one is going to be, would you want to be able to read anyone's mind whenever you wanted, at any given time, but you forget who you are each time you do it? You don't forget, like, what you read in somebody else's mind. You just completely lose sense of who you are as a person. Like, you don't know who you are, you don't know your name, you don't know anything. You just know that you have the ability to read minds. Would you do it? Personally, I don't think that I would. And this is significant because anytime that the question comes up where it's like, if you wanted a superpower, what would you want? Mine is always mind reading. and kind of on brand for this show being completely guest based. I like knowing what people are thinking, not like in a like weird like I want to know your inner mind type of way, but I genuinely enjoy listening to what other people have to say. Whether or not I agree is like a completely different thing, but like I like hearing other people's opinions and perspectives. I feel like I've said this before too. There's something to gain from every conversation, you know what I'm saying? Here in the chat, I'm getting 2 big no's, which, all right, I'm glad people agree. Let's do another one, shall we? Similarly to this, you have the opportunity to get and have everything that you want, right? Anything at all. However, you no longer feel emotions. Would you do it? Would you press the button? I don't know about this one, because if you can't feel anything, but you have everything you want, what is the purpose of having something you want? You won't even be able to be properly happy about it, right? You won't feel anything. You'll be completely numb to everything. Like, sure, you wouldn't feel pain or hurt or anything anymore, but you also wouldn't be able to feel anything positive, right? Like, getting what you want is supposed to make you happy. That's kind of the whole purpose, right? And again, I felt like this was a good one because we talked about Bieber growing to like absolute stardom and then just being completely jaded to it all. In chat, I'm seeing the satisfaction in having what you want is the emotion. Yeah, that's kind of the wave I'm thinking. It's the human experience, if we can call it that, right? Because the whole purpose of being human is to feel, right? I feel like that's such a movie line, but also seeing, yeah, no, I'd rather have my feelings. Again, I concur. Because if you can't feel, what's the point of having what you want? Like, if you can't feel, do you even want anything anymore? Question mark. Like, wouldn't you just kind of chase necessities? Maybe you chase clout. Is clout an emotion? That's the question for the day. Is clout chasing an emotion? Somebody please let me know. Or tell me if you want to discuss this on the show. We can have another segment about clout chasing. I see someone said they disagree. If you'd like to put any explanations in the chat, please, for sure. Clout chasing is a hobby. We can discuss later. All right. Another question. Oh, wait. Emotions can be separated from the success of achieving or obtaining what they want. Yeah, but how do you process success if you don't feel? Like, what is the purpose of success? Because I feel like if you can't feel, you can tell I'm emotion driven. Anyway, if you can't feel anything, right? Your success would mostly just kind of be deemed in keeping yourself alive, right? Like, you would like want your basic necessities just to keep yourself comfortable, I guess. But if you don't feel any like sort of like, I don't know, I'm doing like light bulb like hand motions. But if you can't feel anything, what's the point of achieving something, you know? Because even in achieving something, you feel pride, right? That's what happens when you do something for yourself and you're happy about it. It's pride. Pride is an emotion. So if you can't feel, then what's the purpose? On clout chasing, I'm also saying no, it's a lifestyle. I concur. All right, next topic: succeeding at the expense of someone. And there's three different scenarios I want to talk about here. All right. So the first one is one that I saw on one of these websites. This was like the lightest topic of them all, right? So you are in a lifeboat with 9 other people. So there are 10 of you total. And out of the 10 of you, you have to keep working together because there is a hole in this lifeboat and it's filling up. And you figure out that if 9 of you at a time are helping to take the water out, one of y'all can rest for 10 minutes, then cycle out with somebody else. Y'all can keep this routine up for about 5 hours and not give in to exhaustion, right? Which should be more than enough time for a rescue boat to come and get y'all. However, somebody else in another boat with only 9 people comes up and they know you and they're like, yo, our boat's not sinking. Come to our boat. We got you, right? Do you do that knowing that you need to be in this cycle of 10 people so that everyone doesn't give into exhaustion, because removing you from that cycle decreases productivity and would only allow them to stay afloat for 2 hours, which might not be enough time for another rescue boat to come save them. Do you secure your own safety and go into the other boat, or do you stay and do your best to help keep the sinking boat afloat? Discuss. Me personally, I feel like I would stay in the boat that was sinking, because if 5 hours is supposedly enough for a rescue boat to come and save people, then why not, right? Put in the work for a few hours. You're also getting your workout in. That water, dude, like those like upper body strength exercises, like, okay, let's go. New Year's resolution still going strong. Because also, if you go into the other boat, you're risking causing the demise of 9 other people. And it's not something that I think I could particularly live with on my conscience, should that boat sink in the 2 hours instead of making it the 5 hours that they needed for the rescue boat to show up. Right? I'm seeing here that one of y'all would go to the not broken boat. You either eat or get eaten. I'm seeing no, I stay because then I kill 9 people. This way everyone survives. I'm seeing a callback to a previous conversation. See, that's your feelings talking. I'm seeing it's a group effort. Feelings aren't bad. It's called basic human decency. You risk the demise of 9 people either way. And I'm seeing here that supposedly there was a study done that showed androids, so androids, like the people, not the phones, didn't factor emotion into their decision making. So they were paralyzed by the decision and couldn't pick something. A risk is still a risk. There's no risk when you decide to switch. It's just murder. Wow, that's a heavy opinion. Maybe not murder, but I feel like, again, I feel like that phrase, I need to get rid of that phrase. I believe that staying in the boat that is sinking would not guarantee, but would increase chances of saving the most people possible, right? Because otherwise, then you're safe with 9 other people, but these 9 people might not make it. Your presence, your temporary sacrifice is enough to help these people survive. And I think that's super important to listen to as well, right? It's a temporary sacrifice. Because right now you're struggling, right now you're stressed, right now you don't know whether you're going to live or survive. But wouldn't it be more worth it to do that and have everyone survive rather than you saving yourself and finding out later that the 9 people that you left when you abandoned ship didn't make it because they gave into exhaustion, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like my mind's kind of set on this one. You got to do your part for the whole. As y'all heard in the first PSA, wear a mask for the sake of the whole. Temporary sacrifice until everything gets sorted and everyone is safe. Wow, what a cool tie-in. Anyway, next topic. Also on this, we have, I guess, the topic of Robin Hood, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. Again, success at somebody else's expense. I feel like in the context of Robin Hood, if rich people have enough and Robin Hood is out here taking from the rich, not enough for them even to ever notice, just enough to be a nuisance, and giving to people who truly don't have anything, don't have access to anything to get out of the situation. I'm not going to snitch on Robin Hood. I mean, can Robin Hood give me some money? In this situation, I'm the poor, bro. Like, I'm not mad at Robin Hood. I feel like that's kind of the point of Robin Hood too, right? Whenever you first hear the story, it's kind of about like problematic but harmless. Is that the right phrasing for it? Maybe it's reversed, but I feel like the purpose of Robin Hood is to use your critical thinking, right? It's never like a completely right or wrong type situation. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. There's a lot of things to consider when you're putting a situation in context. I don't think I would snitch on Robin Hood. I'm seeing, I'm still seeing discussion on the previous topic, so I'm gonna just let it sit at that, with Robin Hood. Oh wait, nope, here we go, something. Robin Hood is there to teach you that all our examples of generational wealth are evil. That is interesting. I'm seeing I would help Robin Hood. All right. Well, I think everyone is in accordance then that Robin Hood is not bad? Question mark. Okay. Cool. Good to know. Chat. Thank you. Next topic, and this one is one that I want to talk about because it is based on a movie that I saw with some others at the recommendation of others. It is called The Platform. It is on Netflix. Please watch it if you haven't already. If you don't want spoilers, I guess tune out for the next 5 minutes or so. But essentially, in The Platform, I think the main character volunteers to go in. A lot of other people that are in this facility are prisoners who were either given the option of like prison forever or just like do a certain amount of time in the platform. And what it is a building of a bunch of floors in which there's 2 people per floor, and there is a platform that comes down from the top, stopping at each floor for a certain amount of minutes, and it's got food on it. And the thing is, when it starts at the top, people just go crazy, right? They take as much as they can. By the time it gets to the bottom, the platform, completely empty. Not even the bones are left, dude. Y'all remember that commercial from, I think, KFC where he's like, he ate the bones? Bro, they ate the bones. I'm not even joking. They ate the bones. And so the thing is, you're not guaranteed to be on the same floor forever, you know? 1 week, 1 month, I don't remember. One interval of time, you're on like maybe floor 50. Next time you might be on floor 3. Next time you might be on floor 637, right? And so in the movie, at first the guy's like, wow, I can't believe people are like that. And the other guy's like, yeah, crazy. And then the guy tries to eat him whenever they're on a lower floor. So then the guy ends up having different, I guess, floor mates. And he ends up with this one lady that actually used to work for the administration of the building. And she tries to convince the people above and below her to only take their portion, because on the platform is technically enough food for everyone on every floor to be able to eat enough to stay alive, right? But people give in to gluttony, and they take so much more than they ever should. And so this lady is like, to the people on the next floor, she's like, I've set aside a ration. Like, she worked for the administration, so she knows exactly like how to portion the food, right? She's like, I set aside a ration for you to take. Please only take what corresponds to you. Thank you and have a good day. And everyone's like, no, shut up. I'm hungry. I'm going to take everything. I was on floor 537. I'm on floor 12 now. You're crazy if you think I'm not going to eat everything. And so at some point then later on, she's gone. The guy's with a different floor mate, and they go on the platform and kind of enforce this for one day. They're like, yo, we gotta feed everyone. That's the message. And then someone's like, what message? They're just gonna see an empty platform when it gets back to the top anyway. And they're like, you gotta make sure something survives, right? And so they're like, the panna cotta, which is like some fancy dessert. The panna cotta is the message. So they managed to get it all the way to the bottom floor. And on the bottom floor, there's this kid. And the lady from the administration had been like, there's no kids in here. So the question is, how is this kid even here? Is the kid even real? Question mark for everything. And so then they're like, oh my God, it's not the panna cotta. The kid is the message. I think the kid is supposed to symbolize like hope or like survival or something. But essentially, instead of sending the panna cotta back up, they feed it to the kid because the kid is starving. This is the bottommost floor. And so then they send the kid up, and then the movie ends. Like, you don't see what happens. Like, you're supposed to sit there like, whoa, what just happened? That's crazy. Which I was. Which everyone was. And, like, even the explanations, like, the director himself, he was like, I don't know. You tell me what it means. And so question here, I guess, on the platform is, do you take your portion? Do you eat as much as you can because you don't know what floor you're going to be on? Or do you turn to cannibalism? Question mark. Which obviously no. I feel like maybe at first I'd be like, yeah, I don't get it, whatever. But the rational thing here is to just take your portion, because when as the movie goes on, the guy is filling out an application. I don't know if this is the first or only guy to volunteer to go into the platform, but when he's filling it out, they ask him what his favorite food is, right? And they say that it will be added to the menu. And so when this guy's on one of the topmost floors, he sees like the array of food, and everyone's favorite food is on there. There are enough meals and enough dishes for everyone to be able to eat. However, the people at the top succumb to and it is supposed to be like social commentary on classism, if you haven't been able to tell that by now. But I don't know, dude, I was just so shook by it, because I was like, it's a little once you like get that, it might feel a little preachy at times, but like after watching it, we all discussed and we were like, no, dude, like it might seem how it seems, but like it's not wrong. Like people who either make it out of a bad situation, or people who are used to always having enough for what they want, are more likely to continue trying to take more than what they need, while people somewhere in the people somewhere in the middle are more likely to try to like negotiate and rationalize and be like, no, we can make it work. But like, wow, what a crazy movie. That's not even what I meant to talk about. I wouldn't take more than corresponded to me if somebody was like, yo, only take what corresponds to you. Like, if all I get is this plate with a biscuit and some grapes, all right, fine. I guess I'm eating a biscuit and some grapes, if that means that everyone else can eat. I don't think it's about survival of the fittest in this case. I think it's more so about, I don't know, what? Like, it's not justice that I'm looking for. It's more about just, I guess, doing the good for the whole, right? Oh, and the movie in Spanish is called El Hoyo, the hole, with an H, not with a W. But it's the platform on Netflix. Please watch it. It was surprisingly good. It's going to leave you shook. You're not going to know how to feel at the end. But I digress, again, for the 8,000th time. Next question. You can somehow have the knowledge and resources to invent a cure for all existing illnesses, but you become patient zero for a new illness. I sat there coming up with this question based off of something else I'd read, and I don't even know how to answer it myself, right? Because you have the ability to make sure that no one else is suffering from anything that already exists, but then you yourself would be responsible for creating a new illness with no cure yet. And originally I was like, well, if it's just me that gets sick, like I would have sacrificed my life for the greater good. But in this context, in being patient zero, you cure everyone of everything that already exists, but then you yourself are patient zero, so you are the person that contracts the new illness and spreads it again. So it's like, was your work for nothing? And now you've put yourself in a bad situation when you thought you were doing something good, and it turns out that you yourself could still cause all of the chaos, right? Saying if I'm patient zero, they'll save me, right? The doctors, oh, that means I'm contagious. Yeah, so who's going to save you, right? It's new, and while they figure out, first of all, that you are sick, or second of all, if it's curable, or third of all, if there's even any chance of survival, you don't know who you've contaged, who you've come in contact with, right? So this one's a little trickier because, like, sure, you've essentially saved the world from everything else, but you yourself are responsible for the next bad thing. So it's like you did a good thing, but there's kind of like a twist to it, right? So again, I don't even know how I would answer that, because if you're aware that you're patient zero, I guess you could try to contain yourself as much as possible. Like, say that maybe you contracted something in like your quest to figure out how to cure something else, but now you're responsible for the demise of society again as we know it. I don't know if I'd press that button, because there's a lot of things illnesses and stuff like that I'm almost positive have cures. We just haven't been made aware of it, or maybe it's just not run its course in trial, or they haven't figured out how to price it. So I don't know. In this case, I don't know if that button's getting pushed. I guess the right thing would be to push it, because there's a lot of illnesses and this is just one. This is kind of topical, huh? It's about it's about a pandemic. I'm seeing in chat, it depends on where in society you fall. It doesn't matter, dude. Like, you cure all the illnesses, you're patient zero for a new illness. That's all there is to it. You could be the president, you could be the pope, you could just be somebody chilling in a gas station that happens to get a little bit of a cough, and all of a sudden you might be like the smartest man alive because you've cured every illness ever, but now you're patient zero. So like, what's up? Seeing I'm back and VR podcast in a 3-story Twitch window. Wow, that is impressive. For anyone that's listening on radio, you get this crisp audio quality. For anyone that's watching Twitch like Josh in VR, you get to see all of this as if you were here in the studio. Welcome to the studio. What a privilege, considering that there's only the DJs allowed in here now. Seeing in chat, obviously if you're higher in society, you can easily find the cure or fund the cure as quick as possible. Right, but in this push the button scenario, it doesn't matter who you are, you still have, like I said at the beginning, you have the knowledge and the resources to create the cure for every illness ever that already existed. Right, so it doesn't matter who you are somebody who has access to all of this. But the catch is that in doing so, you become patient zero for a new illness. So it doesn't matter who you are, right? Because in an illness isn't going to stop and ask you what your what your accreditation is. So you would push the button. I feel like you should push the button. I don't know if I'd push the button. Like, again, I said, I feel like there's further implications to consider. So kind of on the contrary to the previous scenario, now there's more things to consider, right? It's not so direct, like you have to be a part of a whole in order to save the majority, because now you could be responsible for ending everything ever. Which leads us to our last scenario, and on ending everything ever. You become God, but if you push this button, everything that you know and love ceases to exist because it was a creation and an extension of previously known entity of God. Do you push the button to become God if it means that everything else disappears? I was sitting here trying to think of these scenarios, clicking through the push the button thing, reading through these websites, and I said this one out loud because I wanted to see what my roommates said. And everyone just kind of like stopped what they're doing, looked at me, and they were like, bro, what? But I wanted to discuss this on the show, because if you, again, have ever heard me speak on ridiculous nonsense that goes on in my mind, I'm not saying I want to become God. I have no God complex. I have no desire to become God. I do make jokes a lot about ruling the world and about becoming the Pope. For no real reason. It's just kind of like a running joke with myself, question mark. Who wants to be God? I'm seeing in chat. I'm also seeing push it in all caps with a million exclamation points. I don't think I'm pushing that button. I don't really want to be God if that means everything else ceases to exist and then I have to create everything. Dude, what? Imagine? Disgusting. That's so much work. I procrastinate way too much to be God. And also, like, I'm sitting here doing this podcast, seeing like what people in chat say, and I'm also thinking like, oh my God, people are gonna think I'm insane. People are gonna think I'm crazy. Imagine being God and literally creating everything, and then having everyone ever be like, yo, God, why'd you do that? Don't question my motives. I'm God. Also saying this does depend on who becomes God, because if power corrupts, then there would need to be a force to counteract it. Who's gonna counteract God, dude? Like, God is God. God is at the top of the food chain. God is the creator and the, I guess, judger of everything. This is getting a little more past philosophical into spiritual. Not expected at all. What did I expect though on a question about God? No one, who's gonna check you if you're God, though, is the question, right? And also there's no one to check you because you haven't created anything. Everything ceases to exist why would you as God create a force to counteract you? Wouldn't you want to remain in power? Said share the power or something. I'm also saying, imagine going from having human form on planet Earth, 1/1000th of the entire universe, to being omniscient, immortal, and without form. I would not push the button. Yeah, I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to go through all of that. Seems like a lot of work. More so from that perspective. In any case, as our time draws to a close, wait, hold on. One more comment. There's nothing, so you'd have to create it, and if you create it, it's automatically your strudel. Yeah, so like I guess you could create your own antagonist just for the sake of having something to do, but like why? Like when you go on Sims, do you personally like create a character that's gonna like be rude to your like main character? No, who does that? And if you do that, why are you like this? Anyway, as our time draws to a close, I once again want to say thank you, chat, for participating in this segment. It's been fun. I love these discussions. Whether or not I agree with you, this is always a good convo to have. And I spent way too much time on the push the button site. There was also a question that I clicked through that was like, you have unlimited time to do whatever you want. However, you must spend half of your time coming up with questions for this website. And in that moment, I was like, wow, that's what I've been doing for like the better half of like the past 2 hours. And so then I went to get dinner and took a break from scripting this show. But anyway, again, thank you so much for listening. Before we go, I'm gonna give y'all one more song. And on the topic of God, we're gonna listen to Holy by Justin Bieber featuring Chance the Rapper. This is not the SNL version, this is just the studio version because it's really good. And without further ado, here is that. That was Holy by Justin Bieber, Chance the Rapper. This was fun to watch on SNL because obviously, as I've made it clear, I stan Bieber, and my roommate stans Chance the Rapper, like the same way that I have a Bieber poster back home, not here on campus. Back home, she has Chance the Rapper posters all in her room. And so I didn't expect Bieber to bring him out on stage. And so when he did, we were like, yo, you gotta come see, Chance is on. And then she came out just to like be able to put him on her Snapchat story. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. This has been Podcast with a K, and I'm your host, Karla with a K, signing off. You've been listening to WECS 90.1 FM, and I'll see you guys at the same time on the same station with new nonsense and new guests next week. Have a fantastic rest of your night. Have a fantastic start to your Monday, and I'll see y'all soon.